And perhaps this is just simple to you, but this really affected me because how do I hold the standard? Do not be weary. But Paul says, I worked to the point of exhaustion. I got exhausted, and so did a whole lot of other people in the New Testament. Physical exhaustion is perfectly normal because we're human beings. We're not angelic creatures. We're not God. We're not spiritual beings. We have physical bodies and we have minds, and they get tired, and it's normal, and it doesn't go against Galatians 6 verse 9. Be not weary. Well, what happens if I'm weary? We must be careful, though, because when we get physically exhausted, when we get mentally exhausted, it can lead us past the point of just a physical thing, and then all of a sudden, spiritually now, I get a bad attitude. Spiritually, I think, well, why am I doing all this? Or what's going on with this? Or what's the point of all this? And then our attitude, we start to lose our attitude and our spirit. So the only way that we can keep the faith, be not weary, while being weary, is to remember, why do we do all the work in the first place? And some may wonder, outside the church or inside the church, why do you do it? Why do you put all this work in? Why do you worry so much about this small little building with a handful of people on Carlisle and an old building? Why do you care so much about it? Why waste all your energy on all of that? In 1 Timothy 4:10, Paul tells Timothy, because he knows this is going to come up as he's ministering, as he's working, that sometimes price far outweighs privilege of ministering to other people. And this isn't just pulpit ministry. Each and every one of us has the opportunity to impact and influence other people. And Paul tells Timothy, when you feel weary, when you feel like you're working to the point of exhaustion, remember why you do it. For therefore we both labor and suffer reproach. We deal with all kinds of stuff, and we work ourselves to the point of exhaustion because we trust in the living God, who is the Savior of all men, especially of those that believe. All the work is not to look good. It's not to get a pat on the back. It's not to get a paycheck. It's not to just stand up in front of somebody and seem important. The reason that all the labor and all the suffering, reproach, and everything happens is because we trust in God. And not just in me, but I trust that He is the Savior of all men. And that all people need to hear His salvation. All people need to hear the gospel. And He is the Savior for everyone on this earth. Everything we do is because of God's goodness and for the sake of others. There's nothing that restores your love for the gospel more than seeing someone receive it for the first time. Being there in the moment, we all have our moment that I knew that God existed, I knew that He was real, and being there in that moment with someone else when they see God is real. His word does speak to me. It is alive. He does love me. He does want to spend eternity with me. Then all of a sudden, all the stuff that I'm worried about, that falls away. I'm not worried about that anymore because God's moving on this soul over here. God is affecting and influencing this person, and He's transforming them for eternity. And if one person's eternity is transformed, it's worth it. But I don't want to stop at one person. I don't want to just influence one person. I want to influence for eternity through the power of God a multitude of people in Albuquerque. I want to be able to reach into people and to show them God is your Savior. He is your Redeemer. He cares about you. He loves you. He wants to spend forever with you. If you're weary, look for someone that's hungry. Look for someone that needs God and reach into their lives. We could get some music. But what am I supposed to do with all this weariness? Why do I feel like I need rest? I just need a break. I just need to just have some time to myself when there's so much hurt and pain just constantly, every day, all of the time around us in the city. How can a perfect God who never grows weary understand what I'm going through? Isaiah 40, verse 28 tells us, Hast thou not known, hast thou not heard, the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary. He never faints. He's never weary. He never gets tired. He's God, the creator of the universe, the one that's in absolute and total control. But how can I hold up to his standard if he never gets weary? How can I be what he wants me to be if I get tired and he never does? The God, the creator, the one that's in heaven, the one that the earth is his footstool, the great and majestic one. But God didn't stay 1 billion miles away. God came to this earth, and he revealed himself in human flesh. And that same God that never faints and is never weary revealed himself in humanity. In John chapter 4, verse 6, we see Jesus, and he was walking with his disciples. They stopped at Jacob's well, and Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well. God never grows weary. God never grows tired. But when he revealed himself in human flesh, he didn't reject all of the stuff that comes with humanity, because Jesus in his humanity experienced the same weariness that we feel. That when I'm just tired, I can't go anymore. I can't take another step. That's what Jesus was experiencing here. He was wearied with the journey. He sent the disciples on. He said, I can't even walk into town for lunch. You guys go ahead, and I'm going to stay right here. But then Jesus reminded himself why the weariness, what the work was all about, what all this was for, not just so I can go take a hike, but to influence other people. Because a woman shows up at the well, a woman that's in need of a whole bunch of help. And Jesus is sitting there. He's wearied from the journey, can't even stand up, is just so tired. But he meets a hungry soul. And instead of letting his faith get destroyed and just pushing this woman away and not influencing or affecting her in any way, he takes the time to speak with her and reveal for the first time, the first person, the Messiah himself to this woman. Even though he was weary, even though he couldn't go on, even though he was tired, he revealed the Messiah to this woman. And the beauty of this story now, of course, much is spoken, the woman is transformed. She leaves her water pot. She runs into the city. She says, go, come see the man that has told me all things that I ever am and ever did, and all these wonderful things. But Jesus was transformed too. Because this same man, the same human person that existed, that couldn't even walk into the city, this same man, when the disciples returned, was so rejuvenated and strengthened that he didn't even need to eat anymore, because he did the work of his Father. He found strength by influencing and affecting someone else. We could stand this morning. You might be physically weary. You might feel just mentally exhausted. There's only one thing that restores this exhaustion. Jesus, the one who knew exactly what you feel like, who has felt it himself, the one who was weary and exhausted, has already offered the solution. In Matthew 11, verse 28, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls." You might get tired. You might get weary, but never let your faith sleep. Because faith is the way that weariness is restored. If I try to do it myself, I can't help myself. I can't fix it myself. But if I go to God, He will strengthen me. He will be my rest. He will restore me. And so I open up these altars this morning. I offer this as a place to go to Jesus. This is what He said. "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And so I offer this place. If you need rest this morning, if you need strengthening this morning, if you feel weary in your heart or in your soul or wherever it may be, Jesus has a place for you in His arms. Seek after Him.